New tonight, the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office is identifying the pilot who died in yesterday's plane crash off Bristol as 54-year-old John Hall of Lee, New Hampshire.
They also say the passenger on the plane was the pilot's son, 21-year-old Tyler. He escaped the crash with minor injuries. Today, the FAA released a preliminary report saying the crash may have been caused by engine trouble. The plane, a Diamond DA-20, was flying over the Colonial Pemaquid Historical Site when the pilot reported an emergency, according to the FAA. Witnesses say they saw the plane skid and hit the ground before going over a cliff and into the water. One person we spoke with says they were moved to see so many community members rush into the water to help the two people on board.
And to see people jump into action that fast and do exactly what they needed to do. That's a big thing, big thing to see. They didn't need me on the beach. They had it covered.
The FAA says it will continue investigating what may have caused that mechanical failure.
And in Alaska yesterday, a charter plane carrying 8 people crashed in a remote area, killing everyone on board. 2 pilots and 6 passengers died, according to the federal aviation and military officials. The plane departed from Anchorage, bound for Cape Newenham. Only military and approved charter flights are allowed to land there. The Air Force confirmed that it was contracted to a civilian flight. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Alaska District says that 2 employees were among those victims. The FAA and the National Transportation Safety Board will now investigate.
The NTSB is announcing that it has recovered data cards from both aircrafts involved in a deadly crash at a Pennsylvania airport. Investigators say a small plane flew into the back of a police helicopter that was on a training flight.
The helicopter came in and did a normal approach. That's when the Cessna came in, straight and level, suddenly increased its pitch, severe nose up, did a left turn, leveled off again, and then flew into the back of the helicopter. So, right now we don't know the details about why the pilot was flying in that pattern altitude or in that manner, but we are going to find out.
The accident killed the plane's pilot, but the 2 state troopers in the helicopter survived. The NTSB said the plane and helicopter were communicating with each other before the crash, but the radio calls were not recorded. Today, the aircraft wreckage was moved to a facility for further investigation.
Canadian Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc and his U.S. counterpart Jamieson Greer are meeting in Washington, D.C. with less than 24 hours to finalize a trade deal.
Earlier this week, President Donald Trump put a pause on incoming 50% tariffs on Canadian goods, saying that the 2 countries were close to reaching a deal.
Those tariffs were originally supposed to go into place on Wednesday. They're on hold until midnight tonight. President Trump said the agreement was very fair to both sides and predicted U.S. farmers and manufacturers would benefit. Likewise, a senior Canadian official said the deal would be great for Canada, while stressing that negotiations are not complete. CTV News, that's Canada's largest news network, is reporting that there will be reductions in aluminum, steel, and auto tariffs. In that piece, a reduction on auto tariffs has repair shops cautiously optimistic.
But nothing is finalized just yet, and mechanics say the past several months of tariffs have placed a heavy financial burden on their operations, because as Liv Wood reports, certain Canadian-made parts are essential.
Can't just, put that on a customer's car and say, hey, this is $300 more because of tariff pricing.
Craig Porrett says he has already been dealing with tariffs on car parts at his auto shop.
I've seen increases in headlights from $800 all the way up to $1,500 there just because of tariff pricing.
And when a customer asks why some services are so expensive,
why is this so much money, for some headlights and a bumper? I had to explain to them that, hey, the way it is nowadays, everything's kind of increased in price.
Plans are in the works to come to an agreement between the United States and Canada. Craig says a new round of tariffs could be devastating.
There's not another source really to source out, a a part from a major dealership, and that's what's available, then you got to pay the price.
I reached out to UCCS Political Science Department Chair Dr. Stephen Pitts. He says this is a move to get Canadian officials to the table.
I think he's got to be put in the context of what the Trump administration does with these tariffs, right? They're a tool that they use to start deal making, to start negotiating. It's tough to say right now what's going to stick, what's not going to stick. But there's no doubt that it's a pretty, big slap to Canada.
But he says it could create tension between the allies.
The Canadian Prime Minister has already talked about looking to Europe, looking to Asia, trying to make sure they diversify their trading partners, because now there's a lower trust relationship with the United States.
Until a deal is confirmed, Craig says he is preparing.
You don't have a choice, and you got to do what you got to do to fix the car to get it right.
That was Liv Wood reporting. Also today, President Trump announced a deal he says will make burgers cheaper. In a post on Truth Social, the president said for the next 90 days, the United States will allow up to 300,000 metric tons of product for ground beef to be imported with no out-of-quota tariff. He says we have a commitment that this beef will be sold at 25% below current market prices. Now, the president did not specify the source of the beef or who had committed to sell the meat at a below-market price. He says the deal will lower prices for U.S. consumers struggling with grocery bills. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association said it was disappointed by the president's statement and said it would not help to boost the size of cattle herd.
The Maine Organic Farmers and Gardeners Association is warning its members about a potential increase in ICE activity that could begin today, with a possible focus on farms.
Association officials said they have received word about increased presence of new personnel and the usage of drones at the ICE facility in Scarborough. And they say that the timing and any potential targets of ICE activity have not been confirmed.
We reached out to MOFGA for more information and were referred to the Maine Immigrants' Rights Coalition. The coalition tells us it's treating this as a serious rumor, but does not want to cause panic, only urge caution.
The group also emphasizes it has no information indicating farms will be specifically targeted. We've also reached out to ICE for more information. We have not yet heard back.
The first deportation flight from the United States to Haiti has arrived with 161 immigrants on board. It's the first such flight since the revocation of temporary protected status for Haitians. TPS had previously covered about 350,000 Haitians from deportation, allowing them to legally live and work in the United States. In June, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the Trump administration could move forward with ending TPS for people from Haiti as well as from Syria. Hours before the deportation flight, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin posted on social media, calling it, quote, a great day to deport illegal aliens.